Turns out a triangle ring works pretty good. Let's get into this video on Triller Triad.
It's kind of cool with the triangle ring. That's kind of fun.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another 11th Island Immediate Reaction. I'm Brad here with Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the Triller Triad Combat, brand new promotion idea by the marketing geniuses over at Triller. So the night ends with Kubrat Pulev finishing Frank Mir by first round knockout, but the MMA fighters won the night, outpointing the boxing fighters. But what are we thinking of the overall night as a whole, Chris?
I mean, it was content. It was pure content. And what they're trying to do is set up a situation where we're putting the MMA guys, we're putting the boxing guys on an equal level, the equal playing field. And I think that's really important to Triller's model, where we're going to bring in names, we're going to bring in spectacle. You know, you have a lot of MMA guys, we have a lot of boxing guys that are kind of starting to backtalk at each other. I think things are starting to boil over between both communities, but the issue is you really can't fairly bring a boxer into the world of MMA. It's never going to work unless a guy spends a lot of time training and is ready to give up the body to go in from boxing to MMA. And then if you go from MMA to boxing, you're just going to be at maybe a in danger disadvantage, but you're going to be at a disadvantage in the way that you've set up your fighting style. So this is trying to find a happy medium. And I think what they've done really well is that they've split things up. It's clear teams. We have this versus this. We're going to count up the scores. And what that does is say, okay, MMA took this one. And was it a close? We're going to do this again. And if MMA wins again, okay, so now MMA is taking the lead here. We do another one. MMA wins again. Hey, this is too tilted towards MMA. We're going to slightly, and I think they're going to keep doing these team things until we can really say, okay, we have a new sport here that combines both, a new form of combat. You know, and we can really bring in both of these worlds, both of these markets. I think it's a good move for Triller.
Yeah, and for marketing wise too, another thing, I think this markets a lot more towards MMA fans, and because they had the bigger MMA fighters here. When you got Frank Mir, Matt Mitrione, and Mike Perry, they picked a night too where there was no Bellator and there was no UFC, so a clear slate of MMA. They did have to battle against Teofimo Lopez, George Campos Jr. We immediately reacted to that about half an hour ago. Make sure you check it out. So there was some competition here, but the gimmicks going into this was, will it work? We were talking, does the triangle ring work? These rule sets, do the guys even know the rules? It was a pretty clean night through and through. The triangle ring works. It brings action. Each fight was action-packed. There was no stinkers, which could have really killed the night right away. It was something, I came away from this being like, yeah, if they rolled out Triad Combat 2, I'd sign up to watch it, especially if it's going to cost me $3 a month. I like that. You can't beat that. And you didn't. This Frank Mir's a big name, but we've kind of seen him washed out. This isn't his first foray into something like this. We knew what was expected. Kubrat Pulev is not that big of a name unless you're a hardcore boxing fan, and even then you're not really running to see him fight. And they main evented this, and it was still very much, I would say, worth the time and paid off. And the undercard, which boxing has routinely struggled to get people interested in, was good in this. Triller actually did something good here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, incentivized people to pay for it with that $3 price model. They know with a lot of their stuff that's so gimmicky that people are going to say, well, I can't give money to this. And if the stream works or the stream doesn't, I don't really care. I know, like, it's hard for me to watch X fighter making this amount of money or this amount of money, this amount of money. Like, someone's pulling money from somewhere, and then me having to pay $80 for when 50% of the content that I'm paying for, maybe the concerts, maybe some of the other fights, you know, whatever, some of the celebrity interviews and everything. Like, I'm not paying for all of this. I don't know, but $3 price tag, you know, and to keep it really concise, you know, Metallica concert fits that demographic. It was clean, tight, you know, it was kept off, bunched pretty well, paced through the night, kind of set up nicely for that Lopez fight. that they
Yes.
knew they were going to compete with, that seemed to line up almost perfectly, keeping the Daz and Boxing away from their main event. Which, I mean, I think for the Daz for the Triller people, they spent so long setting up that fight for their own promotion that they said, "Hey, we might as well see what I don't want to miss it." At this point, we're invested. We've
Well,
lost $1 million, but
Well, I was gonna say, I would hope that people in the comments let us know what you thought of the Metallica concert part of it before the main event, because we didn't get to watch it because we were too busy slaving away on content for you on the immediate reaction of Lopez Gambosis Jr. So let us know in the comments
yeah.
what you thought about
Well,
that.
well, I will say there was a couple rounds of that Daz and Boxing fight that I had the Metallica music playing, and it kind of it added to the experience, I think.
Yeah, this was definitely, it was a double monitor night where you had Daz
Mm.
and Boxing. We say we're gonna take ourselves seriously, we're gonna watch real boxing, and then we're gonna see the circus in
Uh-huh.
town that actually turned out to kind of
Okay.
draw more
Yeah.
more of our
Yeah.
attention during the night.
And I'm jumping over you now because we got to talk about this triangle.
Yes. No, and like I think it works. I
Mm.
don't think it works in the quote unquote real organized, like, because Triller's not a I don't look at Triller and I think that they're a real boxing
It's not
promotion. I
sports.
think
It's not sports.
n-
It's something other than
yeah.
sports. And that's not to say it's stage. It's not to say it's just
Well,
not.
no, it's sports entertainment, but they're not faking it like
Yeah.
wrestling. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It's
they're like,
yeah.
what if we do this? And then it's like, oh, but these guys are actually like, Frank Mir took some pretty significant damage in that
Yeah.
triangle tonight.
That's not what we practiced. Not what we practiced at the ring, or the ring that was a triangle or a triad. Sorry, and I think one of the things that is going to hurt Triller is this insistence on rebrand, like putting their own spin on things. I think if we were just calling this the triangle, and it's like the triangle, and two men enter, one man leaves the triangle. Like, instead of trying to make it more than it is with the triad, I think it's kind of silly, and it
I
bothers
like
me.
Triad.
It bothers me because triad, I'm not thinking triangle. I'm thinking the number 3, and it's all based on twos. You're combining two sports. You have two guys fighting. I keep expecting a 3-way fight. That's my issue. If you say triangle, it's all understandable. I'm expecting 3 guys, and honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. At this point, I don't know. I mean, I thought that when they had Shannon, when they had Rampage and they had Nick Cannon sitting in the middle, I thought that was going to become a 3-way fight there. I mean, Nick Cannon
Well,
was just going to be protecting his shoes.
well, that's the next main event. That's all but, and the sad thing is that's not going to be a good fight.
No.
We've seen Rampage Jackson in MMA
Mhm.
and recently.
Well-
in his heyday, Rampage was a monster. He's not anymore. He's out of shape. He's got slow hands. Shannon Bridge, like, it's going to be a bad fight, and Triad Combat 2 is going to start out slow.
Yeah.
They need to bring in these young guys that people want to see.
and
We don't
and,
want to
and take
see-
these young guys and stick them in a smaller space where there's these corners that you're going to get cut out of. Like, you're just going to get blocked out. You have to go out swinging. I mean, it works. It loans itself so much more to, hey, you're a 23-year-old kid. This is the biggest shine you're ever going to get, or you've gotten, and the biggest payday you've gotten. And it's all like, there's celebrities around. There's just it's a party vibe from Triller.
Yes.
The vibe they get, even as they transition from the COVID kind of lockdown event where everyone's tested, there's no fans, to a stadium experience. It's still very much, we are prize fighters at some insanely wealthy person's party. And that's the vibe they're creating, and they're tinkering with it, and they're making it, I think, a little bit more focused. But if you're a young fighter, that's an exciting opportunity, and I think you're going to see guys step into that. We're going to sell this role that's a little bit more than a role-playing session between two guys that have done great things in their sport, but really, I mean, they like, Nick Cannon is holding you guys back, really?
Yeah, that's a tough look. I think that Triller should probably take a real hard look at who they actually want to bring in next. Understand that, look at Kubrat Pulev, Frank Mir. When you bring in old guys, that was probably the worst fight on the card. Other
Mhm.
than the women's one that was just the girl that lost, clearly just didn't want to be
Mhm.
in there. But that was probably the worst fight on the card. We want to see the young guys. So like Mike Perry, Michael Seals, they were throwing the whole time, and they're guys that have kind of Mike Perry's early 30s, Mike
Mhm.
Seals late 30s, that they've kind of started to wash out of their original boxing and MMA. They
Mhm.
come into this. That's what people want to see. And I think it's a situation now where we're going to get Triad Combat too.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of how quickly we get it. I think don't rush it,
Mhm.
but don't let it go a long time before we see this again. It needs to stay, I think, in January, February,
Mhm.
probably February. I think that would be a good long enough. There's a little bit of a break between
Mhm.
the circus, but not long enough that we forget about it and it's still fresh in our memory. Do you agree?
Well, keep in mind, I mean, every time that Triller has come out and done something,
Mhm.
they've modified their event and they've said this is the first of many. This is the first of many. Every single Triller event has been the new thing that is here to stay. And what it really comes across as, especially if you look at, I mean, Kavanaugh, you look at and other people that are behind the scenes, it looks like a spiraling midlife crisis fueled by a whole lot of cocaine. And I think part of that is now the charm of Triller, and it's kind of why I really enjoyed this, because it's just we're gonna lean into the midlife life crisis, but at the same time, it's you got to say, okay, we have something that works now. And I think as fans of MMA and boxing, and not so much as the spectacle of everything, we
Mhm.
enjoyed the fights themselves. Hey, we finally got the fights to work like really consistent, and they've had fights that have worked, but not through a whole night, not through every single event where you sit back and say, wow, there was no downtime, except for with the exception of a few filler moments between fights when you're waiting out Dazn and things like that. But overall, very good night. And I'm hoping they can kind of maintain this, though I still have doubts that I think they're gonna say, oh, this worked, so now we're gonna crank it up to 10 and run out of money again and be begging Jake Paul to come back. I think part of this is they broke up with Jake Paul and they want to get him back, and they see,
Well,
oh,
no,
Jake, like,
Jake Paul broke up with them.
yeah,
Let's
so
be
or
very
yeah, sorry,
clear.
so Jake Paul broke up with
Me-
them. They're trying to get him back, and they're saying, "Hey, Jake Paul needs to fight." Like they're trying to fix their ex's problems, where Jake Paul keeps fighting wrestlers and grapplers, and people say, "Oh, no, no." So they're trying to give him rules that he could still win, but beat those grapplers in a fun setting. And I think this is all geared towards Jake Paul in my mind, it's bringing him back, and it's not going to work, and it's going to be fun to watch.
I agree. I think that's about sums it up there. You got
Mhm.
anything else?
No, Brad, I'm going to start playing intro music or outro music. You know what to do.
All right, make sure please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy this. MMA Weekly show is coming up this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. The Teofimo Lopez George Kambosos fight where the takeover was upset. We immediately reacted 30 minutes ago. Go check it out. It's probably somewhere on the page here to click.
It's going to
Let me know,
come.
Chris.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's coming in about 10 seconds.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, stay tuned. See you later.
Click it. It's going to be here now.